Hello guys, this is Test Drive Incorporated, and today I will show you one of the most iconic sports cars of all time. This is Chevrolet Corvette C5 from 1998. It's really hard to be objective with this car because when I was 8 or 10 I had exactly the same model, but of course it was a matchbox in exactly the same color. So yeah, I'm really happy to show you the big version of this car. Corvette C5 was in production from 1997 to 2004. This particular model is from 1998. It has a legendary engine, the LS1, and 345 horsepower, which was upgraded to 350 in 2001. 5 horsepower, wow. It does 0 to 100 kilometers, which is 60 miles per hour, in 4.7 seconds. When it comes to talk about the automatic transmission, it's 5 seconds. It also has 483 Newton-meters of torque. Of course, it's needless to say that it is only rear-wheel drive, so it's really easy to crash this car. Here in Poland, Central Europe, it is a true exotic. Everyone knows it, but very frequently for the first time. It is perceived like the competitor of the cars like Ferrari, Lamborghini or Porsche, but it's of course much cheaper than those cars. One thing which is great about this car is the weight distribution. It's almost the ideal one, 49% to 51%. So that's the reason why it drives so well. If you look at this car, you can easily see the great styling here. The body is very wide and low to the ground, so it drives very well also in the corners. Talking about the driving experience, the only con is connected with the leaf springs. Here we have Kevlar leaf springs. But, you know, when you drive on a bumpy road, the car acts very strangely, and this is very unpleasant and uncomfortable feeling, to be honest. You have to get used to it. The car has some modifications. First of them are the rims. The rims are taken from the Z06, from the next generation, the 6.6 generation. These rims for me look really great, and this is Polish chrome, as I can see. Very nice. Here in Poland, Central Europe, this car, like I said before, is a true exotic, and it's a kind of a head turner. And so if you want a privacy, this is not a car for you, because people start to take photos, shoot some videos and things like this. Of course, also look at the taillights. They are also very recognizable. You can easily say that it's Corvette. The disadvantage of the back of the car is the fact that it becomes dirty really quick. This is the last production car with the pop-up headlights, which is an advantage and disadvantage at the same time, because it's, you know, very stylish and stuff, but if you drive like 150 miles per hour on a German highway or something, you just crash your CX. The CX factor is here very good. It's only 0.23. but you know, when you have your pop-up headlights open, it crashes simply. So I highly doubt that it's very safe to drive really fast with your pop-up headlights open. That's the reason why this car has some kind of modification with the headlights. The daylights has been installed here, so during the daytime you don't have to open your pop-up headlights. The last outstanding feature of the body of this car is the targa top. The targa top is very useful when, you know, it's a sunny day and the weather is very good and it's hot. You can feel like you have a convertible, and you can remove the targa top just like this. Also, if you open your hatch, you have a really nice place for the targa top. You can block your targa top, and you can also be sure that it will stay in the same place even if you drive like crazy. The interior is kind of plasticky. The quality of the materials is rather average. When you push those plastics, there are some kind of strange sounds. It feels a little cheap. Of course, this is not a car like Lamborghini when you have all those stitching, leather, and it's really average. So if you drive, for example, Mercedes-Benz or BMW, the quality of the materials is really different here. You know, it's just a GM car from the 90s, so it is like this. I think that's the reason that this car is this cheap, is exactly the interior. You have really good engine, a legendary motor LS1, you have nice performance, and the relation between money and performance, money and the speed of the car is really good. We have 4-speed automatic here. I would rather have a manual, to be honest, but this particular transmission is a little bit quicker due to some modifications. But you know, it's nothing like today's car with 2 clutches or something. Okay, the climate control. Climate control is manual here. Particular car is not very well equipped. In some different models we had the automatic climate control, and notice the head-up display. The head-up display is something really unusual and cool, especially for 1999. That's the year when the head-up display became to be available in the Corvette. On the head-up display you can see your speed, RPMs, and as far as I know, one different feature to choose. It's very useful, very cool, and I regret that I don't have it in this. What is more, we have 2 quite comfortable seats. It's not a big problem to drive like 1000 kilometers by this car, and you don't have still back pain, so that's really cool. Unfortunately, there's one feature of this seat that is ridiculous for me, and I've never seen like this before. Let's see. What the f***, man? When you have the emergency braking, you do something like this. That's the most strange feature of this car. Here in this Corvette we have Bose sound system with 4 speakers for 1998, the year of production of this car. The sound is really good, and maybe some of you know that I'm a musician and I have one of the biggest guitar channels in Poland, so that's kind of important for me. This sound system is really cool for the production of the car. You can adjust some features like the bass, like trebles, and you push once the button and it pops out like this. And now you can adjust your settings. It feels kind of plasticky too, it's nothing special really. It's like you know, 1990s GM product. It's nothing very cool in here, just regular, a little bit cheap looking stuff. The colors of the interior here are very nice. We have a classic combination of like ivory and black here, and it is divided in a very elegant way here in the interior, not only on a central console but also on the door. We have some kind of practical places when you can store your stuff, for example this place, but you hear this? That's not very good, but you can put, for example, your phone here or your wallet, and that's it here. Also, we have kind of nice glove box here, nothing very special. Another place to hide stuff, and the cup holder. The cup holder is so shallow that when you put a drink here and touch a little bit the gas pedal, your drink will be here. And unfortunately, I've checked it. All the liquid was in the place here, so believe me, it wasn't fun to clean all the place here and myself. The steering wheel is really fine. It's like a mid-size, so nothing very special about it, but it works, so cool. Another interesting thing about this car is the computer. You have pretty various features here. For example, you can check your oil temperature, you can check your transmission oil temperature, the coolant temperature. You can also find some troubleshooting here, so sometimes you don't have to put an external computer here. The very interesting feature is switching from the miles per hour to kilometers, which is very useful here in Europe. We are in Poland now, and it's really fun to look at your speedometer and switch the number 5 button, and the speedometer instantly switch from the miles per hour to kilometers, even if you drive. So that's very cool. Also, fuel consumption changes from the miles per gallon to the liters per 100 kilometers. The fuel consumption is really fine in this car, especially when you drive it on a highway. My personal best here was driving 80 kilometers per hour, was 7.6 liters per 100 kilometers. That's kinda 30 miles per gallon, which is extremely good, and it shows how efficient is this engine. But of course it's impossible to drive like this when you are sober. But of course I was not being drunk driving this thing. The interesting thing is when you open your hatch, there's a lot of space, especially for this car, for the sports car. I think it is one of the most cargo spaces in the sports car industry. So this is not a type of Lambo when you the only thing that you can take with you is like the backpack. That's it. You can easily fit in here like 2 golf clubs. Of course, for the modern standards, the equipment is rather poor here, but for the 1998 car, I think it's enough. Of course, also we have the cruise control, which I have never used, to be honest, because this is a sports car, you know. I don't think that it's very useful here, but you can use your cruise control for example, on a highway, if you like. Okay, so we have also here the traction control, which is not very efficient, to be honest. It is not something like in German cars or in Japanese cars, so you can, for example, drive really hard and nothing will happen. Here you have to be extremely careful, especially when you drive on a slippery road. Once was a situation when the car in front of me was driving really slowly and the road was slippery. It was not raining, but yeah, road was slippery, and I hit the gas pedal. Of course, I knew I cannot use the kickdown because apparently I would end on a tree or something like this. But the automatic transmission switched only one gear, and I started to feel like the car is moving, the back of the car is moving, and it was during 80-90 kilometers per hour. I was really close to crash this car, but at the end of the day I took control over it and drive straight forward, but I had a heart attack. The first thing if you enter this car is that you sit like very low to the ground. It's really low, but of course it helps with the driving in the corners. Due to the fact that you sit very low, close to the ground, it's kind of difficult to get in or get out the car. But if you sit here, it's really comfortable and nice. You can relax. It's a little bit harsh to drive, of course. At the end of the day, it's a sports car, but it's not crazy stiff, so it can be usable in everyday life. The steering wheel reacts quickly, but not extremely quickly. Comfort is quite okay. It's not a luxury BMW 7 Series from 1998. So now we have a few corners here. The car glues to the ground, and it's kinda okay in the corners. There is no body roll here, almost at all, because it's wide and you sit that low to the ground, barely your ass on the road. The only not cool thing about taking corners by this car is when the road is bumpy, there is an unpleasant feeling connected with the leaf springs, and the car acts strangely and simply moves in this direction. I doubt if it's safe, and it's very unpleasant. But this car is really competitive to many other cars that are much more expensive than this C5 Corvette. It's really cool to drive it on the back road, also on the highway. It's not fun to drive it in a city when you have like tiny little roads there and the parking slots are pretty small. It takes some time to do a turnaround, so this car is not fun to park at all. Of course, you have to be very careful because, like I said many times, this is really close to the ground. The transmission isn't quick for sure. It's nothing like today's dual clutch. It's just old 4-speed automatic transmission from General Motors, so it's nothing really cool about it, but I think it may be kinda reliable. Here we have the button to turn on or turn off the traction control, and this traction control is definitely like in BMW or Mercedes-Benz when you have also rear-wheel drive, but in those cars it will probably save you even if you drive like a little bit crazy. Here it's nothing like this. it's really easy to cross the border of safety here. So if this border is crossed already, then your traction control will not help you, in my opinion. I had that kind of situation sometimes. Okay, let's see how it does. The sound is amazing, I have to say that. The sound is cool, especially when you are familiar with, you know, some European smaller engines. V8 is here an exotic. I know that a lot of people modify this exhaust, so the sound is not amazing, but it's quite okay, and for me that's really cool. I don't have an enormous experience with cars like this, so for me it's really cool sound. I have to say that it's really fun to drive. I doubt if I want to drive it daily, but if you are in a mood and it's sunny weather outside, I think there's a lot of fun. There is one thing in this car that I don't like. I think it's connected with the automatic transmission. When you drive, like for example 50 kilometers, which is I think maybe 35 miles per hour, it's very unpleasant. Let's check it. Oh, 33, something like this. It's really unpleasant when you do a kick down and then your car is going to be back in the first gear, so you have very high RPMs, and it's really easy to crash this car. Okay, here we are on a bumpy road, very bumpy, and let's see if something's going to happen with this low car. As you can hear, there are some strange sounds in this car. Oh, I made it. I am surprised now. Oh, but this time not. This is a car for sure not to floor when it rains, because it is a very fast way to die. The frequent average gas mileage is something like 20 miles per gallon, which is 13 and a half of liters per 100 kilometers. That's, to be honest, very nice for that amount of power and that big engine. When you drive it on the back roads or on a highway, it will cost you not so much in comparison to the European regular 4-cylinder 1.8 liter car, you know. But the difference is starting to grow when you drive it in a city, especially if you drive it really fast and from one red light to another red light, like kick down and then brake pedal. It will not be economical in any way. When you drive it with your target up off, you know, it's kinda not so pleasant for me when you drive above 100 kilometers, which is 60 miles per hour. In that conditions, it's going to be really loud in your car. This is rather for the city driving, I think, and it's a real fun to drive it like slowly, like just cruising. When you have your roof installed, you know, it's also becoming a little bit noisy here when you drive above 130 kilometers per hour. I don't know when
it was new. Was it also that noisy here above a certain speed? I don't know, and I probably will not know till the end of my life. I think that another a little bit unpleasant feature of this car is when you drive it, the central panel here is starting to be really hot. So and the whole car is becoming to be really hot, even if it's not extremely hot on the outside. That's the result of placing the gearbox in the back of the car. Probably it's really cool for the winter conditions, but I doubt if many people want to use it in the winter conditions. That won't be my favorite for sure. Okay, so let's score it. First of all, exterior design. I think this car is, like I said before, very iconic, and maybe in the US it's really common, but in Europe and in Poland, here in Central Europe, it's really an exotic. It's extremely not popular, but everyone knows what it is, so this is really interesting. For me, this car is simply beautiful, and those lines are very cool. The stylish pop-up headlights, which are not very useful, but it looks kinda cool. Also very recognizable taillights, so it gets 9 out of 10. Maybe it will be too much for an American, but for me it's really cool outside. The interior, as I am the European, I got used to cars like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and stuff like this. Audi also. So the interior quality is kinda average, let's say. It's for sure not the luxury car class. It's rather like you know, a little bit cheap, plasticky here, and it's completely regular. Some of the plastics are really... What's the sound? Man. It sounds like a plastic toy from China for $1. So there are a lot of different sounds here. I know it's 20 years old, but in some German cars you don't have it. But in my personal opinion, it looks pretty cool here. The design is kinda okay. It's sporty, you know, for the late 90s. And by the way, I give the score for 1998, the year of production of this car, not by modern standards, because the interior, you know, it will be probably 2 out of 10. That's for 1998. So the interior is 6 out of 10. It's okay, but nothing special. A lot of cheap plastic here, but the steering wheel is kind of cool. It's okay. It's really nice to hold. I like the combination of colors here. We have ivory and black, so that looks pretty nice here. Equipment options. You know, this is not the very best equipped Corvette C5 I've ever driven. There is now a head-up display here. It started to be an option in 1999, as far as I know. So I don't have a head-up display. I don't have memory seats here, which will be useful for me. We have manual climate control, like nothing special at all. Standard radio with Bose sound system, which sounds really okay for 1998, but it looks like just, you know, a General Motors product from the late 90s. Nothing special at all. I like the computer here. There are some cool features. You can check your oil temperature, your transmission oil temperature or coolant, or many different things also. And for 1998 it's really nice. But of course it's far from luxury cars, for example German top class cars from the 1990s, and it gets 5 out of 10. Money, quality and performance. This car is rather cheap, taking into consideration the performance and the engine and styling and a lot of other things. So it's 8. Comfort is 5 out of 10 because, you know, it's not extremely harsh, it's not extremely stiff sports car like some types of Lambo or, you know, Corvette, for example, ZR1 or something. It's not that sporty. It's kinda in the middle, so I give it 5 out of 10. The fan factor is really cool here because, you know, especially on the European roads, it's a great exotic, very rare car to see. Personally, I've seen maybe 4 in my whole life. Honestly, it's much easier to see C6 or C7 even in Warsaw, in the capital of Poland, but the C5 is really rare on the Polish roads. So it's definitely a head turner. Everyone asks the same questions and that's kind of boring from time to time, but yeah, it's really cool at this point. Also, there's a huge fun for me to drive it, and even if I get out of this car and leave it on a supermarket parking or something, I also look at this one and it's really beautiful for me. So the fun is 8.5. Practicality is kind of good for a sports car. There is quite a big cargo space, which is enormous for the sports car. I have to say that this is not a Ferrari or Lambo type when one thing you can take with you is maybe your backpack, and that's it. And I've driven it on the road like maybe 800 kilometers, I think. And we've been driving with my girlfriend, and we've been driving for a wedding. So, you know, a lot of clothes, a lot of luggage, my suit, and a lot of other stuff. And we've made it, so that's really cool. I think it's really cool that the designers didn't put 2 extra small seats behind. This is a classic 2-seater, and thanks to that there's a lot of cargo space for a sports car, so at this point it's kind of practical. On the other hand, it's kind of difficult to operate in the city, tiny parking slots, so that's not very cool to drive it. Also, you have to be very careful when you drive it on a bumpy road because it's really low. You have to watch out, you have to watch not to hurt it. So practicality is 4 out of 10. And the last part is, some of you may know that I run one of the most popular educational guitar channels here in Poland, and it starts to become international right now. So if you want to learn how to play the guitar and you want some cool music, please check out my latest record. Yeah, I'm a musician and this is the first episode of completely different stuff that I probably will make for you. Jealousy Divided, it's kinda heavy playing, so if you like some modern metal, it's good for you. Okay, that's all for today. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel by clicking this little button below. This is Test Drive Incorporated, and see you soon, guys.